0.
All right, good evening, everyone. Late afternoon, I guess. Welcome to the March meeting of the Athens Emotion Commission. Good to see you all. Um, Now is the part where I talk about how it's great biking weather. I hope that we're all going to get out and enjoy the sunshine. But for now, here is our agenda. It's 2 columns. It's a slightly different layout than before. I'm experimenting with some of the suggested colors and fonts that have not been approved or anything like that. We'll talk about that later in the meeting. But I did kind of want to mess around with that a little bit. So we have for our major agenda items, the communications plan and materials. I'll give an update on our complete streets presentation, which we will present to the mayor and commission in a month or two, and the Vision Zero letter that Teresa wrote for us, and we'll hear staff updates, corridor committees, and our other committees. And I know that there are a couple of other items that y'all had updates on, and we will adjourn at 6 p.m. Daniel, do we have any public comment before we approve the agenda? No.
There's
Okay.
not.
All right. Any additions or changes to the agenda? Y'all need me to get specific on anything you're talking about? All right. I will entertain a motion to approve our agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
The first from Randy. Can I get a second?
That was Mark.
Oh, it was Mark. I'm sorry, Mark. I can't see you guys because I have the little screen on there. So it was the first from Mark.
No,
Can I get a
first from
second?
Cindy and a second from Mark.
Oh, first from, okay, I did not hear Mark at all.
Because I was muted, I just went like this. It was a non-verbal second.
Oh, I see.
I saw you.
Okay, Teresa's keeping a lookout for me since I can't see all your faces at the moment. All right, first from Randy, second from Mark. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. All right, next is our minutes from Blaine. We met as usual last February. Had a lot to talk about, an update on the raise grant. Any tweaks to our minutes? All right, if there are none, I will entertain a motion to approve our minutes from February.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Teresa.
Get
I'll
this
second.
process going, you know.
Who seconded? Mark, thank you, Mark. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed, same sign. All right, we have minutes and we have an agenda. So very exciting. First item on our list are communications plan and materials. So I'll kick it over to Teresa and or Daniel, and y'all will take it from here. And we have Sarah here with us today. Hi, Sarah. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay, so I'm not having a lot of success opening these files on my other computer here. But I just want to say, in general, I think that I really like the direction that this communications plan and the templates are heading. You know, we've got a few different logo options, and I think we ought to look at them if we can do that. I can't find them. I mean, I can find them, but I can't get them to stay on my screen for reasons I can't explain. So Daniel, if you can
Yeah.
pull them up and share them, that would be super great. Or Sarah, if you're able to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sarah, would you be able to share? I know I didn't quite prep you for like a presentation or anything, but
We're not going to make you do a presentation. We just want to like see the stuff. And
Yeah, sure. I was just trying to see if I could drop the image into the chat, the file into the chat, and it's not appreciating me trying to do that. So I can share my screen. And as I'm doing that, I just want to say, kind of give you an overview, which I think that Daniel probably did. But so everything that we sent is in PDF format or in this JPEG format, but the templates themselves are going to be the raw files. And specifically, the Athens in Motion materials, we made sure that the fonts are native to Google Drive, Google Slides, all of the Google freeware, but also to Adobe as well. And specifically, the fonts are ones that have more styles built into Google. So a lot of the Google fonts you might have noticed, all you get is just regular or maybe bold. You don't get too many other options within it. And the last thing that I'll say before I share the screen is that I know that Canva was talked about as a potential platform for y'all to use, and I think Canva is great, but Google has some similar capabilities if you're trying to keep things pretty simple. I think Canva is great for making things pretty snazzy and flashy, but what we heard from your first meeting was, really lowering the barrier to posting and making this as convenient as possible for everybody to be involved in getting messaging out. And so that's why we have everything that we're sending you will have a Google option. So like flyers will be in Google Draw, and PowerPoint, you'll have PowerPoint, but you'll also have a Google Slides. So just wanted to make sure I put that out there. Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
So so this is these are some ideations on logos after our meeting, trying to come up with something that can be simplified potentially into just a standalone icon. And what we were hearing from a subsequent meeting with Daniel is that the existing logo might still serve a purpose in terms of large scale banners for outreach, or a bumper sticker, or maybe even a t-shirt, but that this logo would be used much more heavily, and that it's okay that it doesn't have the exact same stylizing as the other logo. And these can be, I think that once we kind of hone in on which one you're looking for, we can continue to refine it, and we could go into gradients of color. It doesn't have to be just a full, saturation of color for contrast. But there's a lot that we can do, but I would be happy to hear your feedback or thoughts or answer any questions.
well, I have to say, I kind of like the one with the use of the word in, suggesting motion. I think that's rather clever. The others, well, the one with the kind of sailboat and the big M, I don't really respond to that, and I don't respond to the triangle, the stripy triangle either. And I'm not sure how I feel about the one that has the fun S. But I think I really do like that one with the scripty in.
yeah, I will say I like the center line on the S. I think that kind of adds a lot over the first iteration. I like the road symbol there.
Is the road idea or concept going to be? I mean, to me, that seems more vehicular than pedestrian and cycling.
On
Yeah,
the,
I draw back.
you know, I was looking at it as like a multi-use path with the striping down the center, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The first thing that says to me is road, like street. I mean, which is definitely part of what we're doing, but first thing I think are highways.
We could put a
It's a
tiny
fun
bike,
curvy road.
and we could put a tiny scooter on it, and we could put a tiny, oh wait, we're just redoing our old.
As long as it's tiny.
Just a tiny one.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming too, the triangle that Teresa was referring to, is that like a crosswalk, you know, going off into the distance, or what's the,
Yeah, so
okay.
speaking to Lauren's point about, you know, who represents everybody, does any body, physical body represent everybody? Does any user represent anybody? And we really just came back to the idea that everybody is a pedestrian, no matter what mode they are, at least. And so we kind of focus more in on playing with crosswalk kind of markings, especially because you have great contrast with your bright colors and white, or your gray and your white. And so yes, that was kind of tying in the A and the AIM, but with the crosswalk almost in kind of a perspective like view. But if it's not
Yeah,
reading as such,
I
then
really
it's not
do.
effective. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I really like the font and the overall look of that one. However, it does to me look more like, I think somebody mentioned, a sail, almost like a nautical theme.
mhm.
I do like the bottom one. I wonder if similar look at the striping, if you know, if maybe the right, I don't know if it would look good, but the right side of the A, if that was like the edge line of the crosswalk, I don't know. It might be too complicated. Visually, I like the look of it. I think it's clean, but
And I'll just because Teresa mentioned the N, I think that even if you don't choose, if that logo is not one that you want to move forward with, then we still have the opportunity to emphasize in terms of messaging. So something that I told Daniel that when we talk about like a safety campaign, we can spin that pretty well to, you know, Athens in sight, like bright colors, reflective gear makes you more visible at night. Athens in control, you know, like stay aware, stay alert while you're driving. Athens in, you know, the street, or Athens in motion, like the street is for all of us. I think that you can really start playing on in as in like kind of your action verb, and spinning it off into more of a campaign messaging program.
yeah, and I like that it can also be kind of worked into inclusion. You know, it's like bringing
Yeah,
everyone in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a
That's
lot
an
of ways you can
excellent
pivot.
point, Daniel. I like that.
yeah, with that, the stylized in is kind of growing on me.
Yeah, my first reaction, Randy, when I saw it was, that's a little weird. But then the more I kind of
Truthfully,
looked at it and then saw it in application, I thought, wow, that's, you know, that's really kind of nice. I'm responding to that. You know, it gives me a positive feeling.
yeah, that in
Wanting the
control,
others to-
inclusion, yeah.
And it's really easy to do a neon light. We can just like put that in my office.
You know, for your birthday.
Always wanted neon.
We did not. So we showed that logo in a few of the materials and a few of the templates, just to give you an idea of what a logo, how it could kind of relate to the templates itself. We were not trying to lead you towards that one, just to put it
No,
out there.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I responded to it. So That's a good thing.
Sort of graphically, visually, I like the bottommost row best. Maybe it's because I'm a sailor, but if the foot of the sail was straightened out, and if there was something, as I think Daniel said, along the right edge to make it look a little more crosswalky, maybe it would. It just doesn't signal Athens in motion. I just like the way it looks. I don't know, but no strong feelings otherwise.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Mark on that. I feel like there's something about the logo that looks a little bit like 1984 corporate, maybe.
I think
Which
it's
I'm
running
kinda,
shoes when I look at it.
yeah. The triangle kind of makes me think I should have earrings that look like the triangle. As
You want
far
to
as
know
the
branding things? Sell
yeah.
bumper stickers, t-shirts, earrings. Sorry,
Um,
go ahead.
the N that could be growing on me, but I think that will confuse people if we have the N isolated, and I don't know if they'll know what we're talking about, but maybe, maybe we get some recognition there with inclusion and some keywords. But I appreciate the ideas. I like the crosswalk idea. I'd love to have, this is not helpful, but I would love to have a flag that's just like an overlay of a scramble, just the going nuts. And then like the green bike lanes, specifically like the scramble at what is that, Baldwin and Lincoln?
Baxter
I know that's
or
not helpful. Oh yeah, no, it's
Baxter?
actually new scramble,
Okay.
the new one.
We'll get a drone and shoot it for you.
Yeah. I like the idea of the crosswalk being implemented, and I see where that is. And I appreciate like having so many ideas. I know this is a second round of ideas for icons, so I'm just very grateful. We have a lot to look at here.
Is it too overused with the Walkman? Is that just been done too many times? Just trying to think about emphasizing like the person as walking and pedestrians and Athens in motion, kind of the person. So, but I figure that's probably been done to death.
Yeah, I think our concern with that was, so the feedback that we gave them on that is just that you don't want to just have like a man representing everyone, right? And so how do you represent everyone? You have different ages, abilities, genders, and so that's where our current logo, where we have the jogger, the cyclist, the wheelchair, the kids, like, and then you just end up having a whole bunch of people, and it's a lot of detail. And so I think that was the
Yeah.
concern, is like it's not like and there's no way to simplify it down to just like, if our logo is on a interpretive sign, then it's like here's this whole thing, and then here are the other organization logos next to it that are all compact. And
Yeah, I don't think
Right.
it's good for a quick read, for like a visual badge. There's just too much content there.
Totally. Yeah. It's really hard to reproduce, like you said.
All right, so what are our next steps going forward, Sarah and Teresa? Is this enough feedback to work with? What do y'all want to do? What do y'all need?
Well, I think we need to kind of make a decision on logo. I mean, if we want to do a couple more weeks of work on this and see, if there's a refinement that might make it really pop, then Sarah, I'll defer to you on that.
Sure. So I think for us, right now, I haven't heard too much consensus in terms of preference, other than appreciating, kind of the crosswalk motif. So what would be helpful is perhaps you all can kind of pick one or two that you think, well, first of all, you could either say just none, or you could pick one or two that have some elements that you think are really pulling pulling forwards in terms of being the preferred option. I will say that the way that this project is written, that the logo is kind of part of phase one in terms of templates, but obviously the logo is almost one of the most important aspects of this project. So we don't feel like the logo needs to be buttoned up, phase one, hard stop, and then we start into phase two, which is the communication and outreach strategy. I would definitely like to have, the colors and the fonts and the other templates done before we really start diving into the strategy. But I think that it's fine with us to continue to refine the logo over the course of the entire project and not just do a hard stop before we jump into the outreach and engagement.
I'm happy with that. Yeah.
I mean, we could take a temperature. We could do sort of like a vote on, I see basically 4 ideas and everyone can get 2 votes and I can write down numbers. Would that be helpful, Teresa?
Yeah, I
to
mean,
do it that way?
we need to have sort of a consensus on this because
Okay, we need a direction.
yeah, and like, I mean, if I were dogmatic, I'd just say, well, I like this one and let's just go with that, and that's the end of the discussion. But I don't want to do that, and I cannot do that. So
I guess I'm concerned that we're not, just like jumping up and down for joy over any of these in particular, frankly, I just don't get the sense that we're, in love with what we're seeing there. And I go back to the old logo, the green one with the people walking and rolling and et cetera. And I actually like that better. It's more complex, could be simplified, but I don't know. I just there's nothing about this that particularly says motion other than the crosswalk or unique to Athens and Athens' unique character. I don't know. That's all. Sorry.
well, one thing I'm getting hung up on the one in the middle is the verticality of the sail and the M, the lack of an I, and I keep wanting to make it lean towards the words Athens, and I want to stick a little I inside that M somehow. If you catch my drift, I mean, there's just something about it that doesn't feel complete. It's not like it's not coming together for me.
That's one thing. I'm with you, Mark. Like none of them just knock my socks off, but that's where I am with more with the bottom one, where I don't think I like the emphasis on the M as emotion. So or Athens, I like the N, the inclusive. That's kind of a cool idea. But yeah, I don't know if the M should be emphasized as much as it is on some of these.
Okay, so here's what I would like to do. So Sarah has something to work with. I would like to proceed as I suggested with everyone gets 2 votes and you can choose something, that is more palpable to you than the others. But we'll also add a 5th category of something that is more like the old logo, which we saw some renderings of that. So it's also an option. How about that? I just want Sarah to have something, some gauge.
Well,
Okay, so
I think also
yeah.
what I'm hearing is that people like the movement around the inn. They like the idea of showing movement through the text. I think everyone so far has liked the idea of incorporating crosswalk or some sort of thing into the logo. And I mean, even if it's just those elements, and then we go back to the drawing board to kind of expand and merge, because I don't think we need to, I, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we need to, I think you said we can also say 0 of them, but I think the most useful feedback would be what elements do we like in these, and then provide that back. And maybe it's the kind of thing where, we're all looking at it right now, but I think some people need a little time to absorb stuff. I know sometimes I can have immediate feedback, and then later I'm thinking of some stuff too. So what if we give a deadline for getting some feedback on these, and we talk about what you like, what you don't like?
Yeah, and honestly, there's a couple of key questions that I can ask if we, it'd be good to hear if you, I'd still like you to vote what Lauren is suggesting, just to have that, just to pick out of your favorites. But there's a couple of questions that I'd like to ask like very quickly, and you can just do a thumbs up or thumbs down. Or let's see, not all of you have, I guess we're not in Zoom, and not everybody's on screen.
We have reactions. We can.
You can do reactions? Okay, cool. If you can do reactions, then that would be great. The curvature in shapes or text, such as in the N, like where you have curved corners, and kind of the sail, or the A in the bottom one, how it's got more of a curved corner to it, and the italicized. Is that a preference over more hard edges as you're seeing in the kind of center option? So split so far uncurved, kind of positive uncurved.
Oh.
Okay.
Take my thumbs up, but my thumb is up. See?
Yeah. Oh, I think I saw more thumbs up than thumbs down, but I did see some thumbs down. Having having Athens emphasized more than anything else. And by Athens, I mean the word Athens, not a iconic, building or something in Athens.
Or neutral on that one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, most people, doesn't seem like that's okay. And then having a logo that could truly be simplified into a standalone icon with no text associated with it, as in the one on the right with the curvy kind of road, that one could not fit that bill. So do you think that it is imperative that it can stand completely alone as an icon? Two thumbs, two up, two down, three up, four up,
Yeah.
five up. Okay, so most people do want that. Okay. And then the last thing that I'll say is colors wise, you probably noticed that there's some different colors in the templates, and we tried to keep kind of colors and fonts different for ACC content and AIMC content. And that green that's in the logo, that got shifted over to the ACC content because they just have fewer colors that fit into the city county kind of color palette in general. So a lot of the more playful colors are kept on the AIMC color palette. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but if you could just have folks like just say, top two and have one of the options be none, then that would just still be helpful.
And then we can also put together like a Survey Monkey or Survey 123 or something, that we have a deadline to respond by if that would be preferred. Do people need time to absorb, or are you good to give feedback now?
I have a question about the sort of, I don't know if it's puce or magenta or whatever that pinkish color is that a color that that people respond positively to? And gray is boring. I'm sorry.
Are you asking us?
I'm asking anyone, think about it. I mean, how do we feel about that sort of pinkish hue?
I mean, as far as like the logo colors go, I was kind of assuming that the gray is just a neutral, like we're just looking at the icons right now, and there's like, here's a color, but it's not that that is the final. Like, I think ideally we would have, 2 or 3 colors. You don't want to get too many, but I mean,
Okay, I didn't catch up onto that part, so that actually helps me.
okay.
Yeah, the gray is just in case you have to have a grayscale image, if you're doing print black and white. And then the color is just to give you an idea of a high contrast color.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. Or let me ask y'all this, should we be looking at those colors and other elements now as a whole commission, or are we getting review back from the communications committee on that later? What is needed besides the logo from us as a commission? Teresa.
That's a good question, and I think I think we should take a look again at that at what they're doing for the Athens-Clarke County. Are you able to put that up so we could see that, Sarah? Just for the colors, or
Sure. Let's see here. So this is just one of the materials. This is like a mock postcard that could be sent out to kind of a targeted group of people that might be impacted by a project. So this shows the colors for Athens-Clarke County. They also have a gray. Both entities have a gray in their color palette. So we tried to split up the colors from the Athens in Motion plan, so that each kind of entity has some colors from the plan. And generally speaking, and we also tried to honor the colors that are being used in existing materials. So in terms of what the county is putting out and what the county has on their website, they really lean into the lighter blue and the darker blue. And then some of the Athens in Motion templates and content was leaning more towards that fuchsia color. So yeah, this shows those colors. And then you all have access to just the Athens in Motion Commission folder. Is that correct?
no, I think you gave us the links to the other one. All right.
Yeah, I sent
Yeah.
I just forwarded the email so they have both.
Okay.
So
Let's see. I'm trying to.
okay, so
Somebody have the colors to pull up on the screen?
I do.
Okay.
I can do that if y'all want. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Wait, is this the right screen? Yeah. We're talking about this document. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
yeah.
Okay.
And does it have the ACC one on there as well?
Mhm.
Open that one.
Yeah. So everyone, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, you can see this is what we talked about. This is what they put together for Athens-Clarke County, and then the other one, basically the blue and green and like those more neutral colors were more like, professional and slash boring looking maybe, and so we talked about basically Athens in Motion could have the more fun colors from a commission standpoint, but what are y'all's feedback on that?
Where is that in
I think I
file?
attached it as a file to the email.
Attach it to the email. Oh, there you go. Okay. I just didn't go far enough down the document. Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like we have to get too crazy about, getting colors exactly right. I mean, that's as long as it's something that will have the effect of branding.
The one thing I'll say about the yellow that stands out to me is more transportation. It speaks to transportation, but I know yellow's not everybody's cup of tea.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say that about pink and green too. So, somebody somewhere is going to object no matter what we do.
All right, we other items in our agenda, so I'm wondering if we can come up with some action items here related to either the colors or the materials, or next steps, whether that is, we also need to have a poll or Survey Monkey or something like that. What do we do going forward?
Daniel, if you don't mind putting together a poll for us, just
Okay.
Like it, dislike it, neutral, however you do those
Yeah.
things to kind of get feedback on that. Just in terms of the logo as it is, and then the color and the fonts.
How about this? Before we put something else on Daniel's plate, is there anyone besides Teresa on the communications committee who would be willing to put this together, some kind of survey tool together for us?
Yeah, I'll take a whack at it.
Thank you, Randy. And let us know if you get
Thanks,
stuck.
Randy.
Yeah, I feel like this is more like commission task than bike ped coordinator task, but I'm sure Daniel is happy to help.
Yeah, it's not my wheelhouse. That's why I was pointing at Daniel.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
Daniel.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
My first question was gonna be, how much of a delay can we do? So yeah, no, that would work for me.
all right.
All right. Before we move on, okay, so Randy, I can meet with you if you want, and we can, if you want to make sure we have everything. And Sarah, did you have any specific questions? Did you want us to basically put those maybe in that survey as well, so you can get the 4 that you mentioned, or do you want to maybe send some specific questions over to me?
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, sure. I will I'll send you a follow-up email, Daniel, just to kind of synthesize what I heard and what would be helpful on our end. And Randy, I've got your email. If you'd like for me to just send that to both you and Daniel at the same time, rather than have Daniel have to then loop you into the conversation, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, that sounds good, because then I'll put together a draft survey, and then Daniel, I'll touch base with you and we can take a look at it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank y'all. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is Complete Streets Update presentation. So way back in the day in 2021, we did approve our Complete Streets policy update, and we are now getting on the agenda for a mayor and commission work session. And I have a meeting with County Manager Blaine Williams on Friday to go over the presentation with him. And that's just a, little check-in and whatnot. And Daniel will be there as well. So this has started through the Policy and Projects Committee. So it's been a while since we looked at the Complete Streets policy, and it's a lot bigger now. And Aaron went through and synthesized all 10 parts of it into a couple of slides. And so I've been trying to put in some visuals and update fonts and colors, and maybe bookend it with a little bit of context, Complete Streets 101. And so it's still very drafty. And I did, but I did want to go ahead and start running this by y'all and see if the direction makes sense before I send it to Blaine. And I'm sorry, it's still more in draft form, but that's kind of where it is. It's also in draft form because I did start using some of the proposed materials and fonts, even though we haven't approved them. So this is another way for you to gauge what this could look like in an actual presentation. And I'm happy to change colors or whatever, or if we don't use the purple, I can change that before the meeting. I don't think, anyone will, I don't think Blaine will mind if the colors are different than how I presented it to him. Blaine Williams. I'll share it again. It's pretty crafty. Oops, no, I always hit share. So this is our old map, but I thought about putting an image behind there. This is one Teresa took of Atlanta Highway, and I may put something that's more positive instead of negative. So maybe that's always a challenge, right? Do we show? Huh?
I just said that was the saddest photograph.
Say that again.
But
Yeah, but
that picture
actually,
shows
I
what
see
it is.
like resilience in this person. Yeah, this is how it is in this person.
There you go.
Despite not having a sidewalk or anything, it's still going to where they need to go. We want all of us to have something better. So there's always a trade-off of whether we show how things could be, and I want to have a little bit of both in there, and I'm not quite there yet as far as visuals go. But I've also been going down rabbit holes with the NACTO guides. And so it's like, oh, like I got really caught up in in reading Complete Streets for rural context, which I hadn't gotten into. So what I would like to do is provide some background. Our current Complete Streets policy was passed in 2011. And when the National Complete Streets Coalition reviewed the policy, it gave it a 21 out of 100. And this is me, I tried to synthesize what the reviewer said. And this is a picture that I actually took. I think I meant to send to you, Daniel, of that sidewalk that's closed. They don't tell you where to cross, and it's a spot. But I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I may not keep the slide and add some visuals to it. But this is the new plan and what's maybe coming up next. And then I'm still working on this next slide about like the big ideas. So this is Complete Streets 101. I think I want to think about like what are some of the assumptions folks might have when they hear the word complete streets. Like maybe they think it's just about people walking or biking, and it's really designed, it's really about making things better for all of us. So we are talking about us when we're driving as well. And Complete Streets policy improves safety for us no matter what mode we're taking. So I want to stress that. And I also want to maybe emphasize that just because you see sidewalks and bike lanes doesn't mean that a road is complete. So I'm kind of leaning in that way. And then after this slide, I'll start getting into the outline of the policy. So let me just real quick get a temperature gauge on how y'all are feeling about starting off this way with some background, maybe talking about the new plan or not, and then a Complete Streets 101 overview. What do you think so far?
It's great. To give a little background to people that may not be as informed on complete streets and overall transportation policy.
Okay.
Nice job.
Thanks.
Yeah, I would agree.
I like what you've done so far.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing about this photograph here is, do you want to have one that shows what a complete street looks like, or a generic street?
Yeah, that might be. I think I will trade that out, Teresa.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
But of course, what a complete street looks like depends on the context, right? But still something more positive versus North Avenue, which we know needs some work, and we have a lot of ideas about that. Maybe I think that there's a design in there. Does that sound right, Daniel? Did we include like a little draft, little frame of North Avenue?
Is she breaking up for everyone or just me?
Lauren, we can't really
Yeah,
hear.
breaking up.
Sorry, Lauren. Can you turn off your video for a second? All right. See if that fixes your
Mic check.
bandwidth. Yeah, okay. Can you repeat that?
Yes. So I was wondering if in that RAISE grant submission we did last year, if we included a diagram or some kind of rendering of what North Avenue could look like, because I can't remember what was in there.
I actually came across that recently in my downloads folder, and I said, oh, I'll file this away since I don't need it. And I'm trying to remember where I filed it. It's, you know, it is, we do have, yeah. I don't know if it's as, like, it still is a divided highway, and there is like a sidewalk. I'm pulling it up now.
Yeah, and we don't have to get too in the weeds on this. I was just wondering, because that could be something that I throw in here.
Oh,
Yeah.
so like, I mean, it's not, I don't know if it's like your ideal complete street, but it does
Where's this?
show users and
Yeah, this, we don't have a grassy median. Are we gonna put in a grassy median?
maybe. I'm trying to get a feel for where this is.
Okay.
This might be
and
the
that's
this might be the loop access area, which does have grass. But yeah, I'm not sure where this is, but
okay.
there's another one
That
though
could be
that is across the bridge, and it's basically, it just shows the bridge as it is, but with a path alongside, so like a multi-use path. I don't know if let me see if I can find that one, and we can send it through email, but
okay.
if I can't find it.
Cool. All right. Teresa, thanks for that feedback on the image. And this is quote. I'm making quote slides, and I probably will throw an image here, but this is a standout one that Aaron had included. So a complete street framework shifts the status quo of street design from being car-centric to being designed for all users. So again, emphasizing that this is for everybody. It's anti. And here are sections for our policy. This is where we'll get in the weeds a little bit for our commissioners. And I find myself wanting to make this really digestible, but there's just no way around it. It's policy, and I have to remind myself they're elected officials. They're used to this. This is why they became commissioners, because they just want to read policy all day long. So it's probably going to be okay. But so Aaron had done a really great job, as I said, of pulling out some key items from each section here. So Aaron, I kept your text, and I've just been trying to put in images here, and sometimes they're aspirational and sometimes they are more like what it looks like on the ground. So you all get the idea behind this. I won't read every slide. I just want you to kind of take a look at it. Obviously, we'll put in something really positive here about the benefits, maybe more aspirational as far as complete streets go. Yeah, there's some overlap here. I'm still working on some layout. This is an image that I believe that you took, Teresa. I think this is another Atlanta Highway one. And again, trying to find ways to bring in the standout quotes that Aaron had pulled in. And after policy objectives, we go into equity, and I would like to pull in an image here. So yeah, it's a little bit death by PowerPoint, but this is just how it is, this policy. And I divided it up each section when I felt like there was a lot of text on the slide.
Like you said, there's,
So,
this is a long document. So I think you've done a good job with it so far.
Thanks, Aaron. Well, I appreciate you going through and pulling out all the parts here to synthesize it.
Sure.
This is an image that I took. This is actually on Wilkerson right now. It says share the road, and there's a little bike sign there. So it does give you some instruction. That's useful. Exceptions, another part of our policy, and continued, exceptions continued, emphasizing that project cost alone does not allow for exemption. Land use and context sensitivity. And I hope I'll cover some of like this, what they need to know in Complete Streets 101, as we talked about earlier. Design criteria, and I divided this up onto a second slide. Jurisdiction is public roadways, implementation. So something I will emphasize is that we spent a lot of time on this policy, but also Stephen was with us in every single one of those meetings, especially after Hillary left. So this is not something that's new or that can't be done. It's, I think we have a pretty good document. So I hope there won't be any concerns there from the commission about whether this is doable or not. So here's the performance measures. And this was, and yeah, Stephen was with us before he became director. It's kind of handy that he's now director. I'm just going to say that. Yeah.
I think that's really awesome. I mean, it's a whole lot of stuff to try to condense into something that commission mayor might be able to absorb. And I think this is very, very good. I think it's quite digestible. And I personally feel very strongly about our Complete Streets policy. I think it is quite good. And, I feel like, we can be proud of it. No worries there.
Thank you, Teresa. And we do have the draft here, and you see that it's quite a document. It's much longer than the original one that I think was 2 pages or so, and this one is 8 pages, 9 pages, and 10 sections. Let's see.
One
Daniel?
question I have was just having not fully read it front to back. Sorry about that. Do we address all of those points that they raised in their assessment of our old Complete Streets policy, where we got a 22 out of 100?
Yeah, I was looking at it, and I think that we're much closer. And it was just some of this was just low-hanging fruit. Like our Complete Streets policy was just like our roads, incomplete. We just had to get specific about things. So I think that we will pass. But... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, sorry to interrupt. Are there any current commissioners who worked on the original? Still, I don't think so, right?
I believe that Mayor Kelly Gertz was on the commission at the time.
Yeah, I was just wondering about stepping on. Don't wanna offend anybody by going too
Yeah,
deep into the
and I
faults of
think
the
that we
first one.
can. Right. And I think that when I present this, I will frame it as like, it was a first effort and it was 10 years ago at this point. So it's time to update and we have better guidelines about what complete streets policy it should be to be an effective piece of policy. So you got to start there. Even even where we have shortcomings with our streets, I think that we have a great team going forward. We have a bike and pedestrian commission now. We have a bike, pedestrian, and safety coordinator. Maybe we'll have a Vision Zero person. And we have Stephen at the helm and Ronnie next in line, assistant director, right? So I think we're in a
Making
great
my
position.
announcement.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. By the way, Ronnie is now the assistant director. So I still work directly with Stephen, but he will be more involved in things. So virtual congratulations to him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I do feel optimistic going forward about projects that trigger our complete streets policy once it's passed with you all in charge. And Daniel, with your eye for detail, nothing slips past you. So thank y'all for this feedback.
I was gonna say just the occasional fire hydrant. Didn't know that was a private developer though, so that I was never consulted. I would have noticed the fire hydrant, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all. I know that was quick. I'm going to try and put in some aspirational images, particularly under the big ideas. And I will send this to everyone and then I will show it to Manager Williams on Friday. And he might have some feedback about the presentation and what he thinks would be most effective in presenting our lengthy policy. But it will be great to check this one off of our list, yeah. All right, I know we're running a bit behind schedule, but I do want to turn it over to Teresa, who sent out a draft letter regarding the recent accidents. Oh, I said the A word. The recent deaths on our roads. Teresa, do you want to share this?
I can't share from this MacBook Air computer I have. So if you can share it, that'd be awesome.
I just need to find it again. There it is. And I will pull it up. I'm just moving some screens around. Okay. So thank you, Teresa, for getting this started. And I know that Mark has done a first review. Teresa, do you want to introduce it or talk about it?
Well, I think it pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, we, the Athens in Motion Commission, support the Transportation and Public Works effort to hire a Vision Zero coordinator. I think that needs to happen sooner rather than later. I responded to that accident news bulletin, very badly. It was just, every time I hear about one of these things, I get sadder and I get madder, and I want to do something. So I said I need to just write a letter. So I wrote this letter for us, and I appreciated that Mark put some good edits in there. And I feel like we should vote on whether we want to go ahead with it and then finish it up. But if anybody wants to take a red pen to it, that would be great, because we want to make sure that it's good, it's right, it gets the message across. So I don't know, where are we with that? Has everyone seen it? Has everyone thought about it? Does anyone need time?
Well, I wanted to say, from a staff perspective, and this is from Stephen, he had to hop off, but he did say that he wanted to let you know that he reviewed it. He really appreciates it. As staff, our department can't really advocate for itself in many situations, so it's really great to have the support from people like you guys. Who can continue to put those needs in front of mayor and commission and really bring attention to it, because we don't want to have the staggering number of fatalities from last year be a repeat where that's the thing that's bringing attention. We don't want the fatalities to bring the attention. We want the groups like y'all who are paying attention to it and saying, hey, we can address this. So we appreciate that.
Right. So, do we feel like this letter is ready to go, or do people feel like we need to go through it a little bit more, or you know, uh, I'm asking for people to let me know what they think, and then obviously it would go out under Lauren's signature, so she would need to be comfortable with it as well.
My only comment, I think it's fine to go, would be that last sentence is a little bit, could be inflammatory or could be misperceived by folks. So, I don't know. If you feel strongly about keeping it in, that's totally fine.
When I was writing it, I was feeling very impassioned.
Mhm.
It
It just depends on the overall tone we want to take, whether it's more of a policy kind of tone or a polemical kind of tone.
right. And I don't have a strong opinion either way. I think the most critical thing is that it gets their attention, and
I mean, yeah, it could be interpreted by somebody on the commission as saying, oh, you're blaming us for these persons' deaths because we haven't implemented it yet.
we
And
don't
that,
want
that could provoke a reaction that isn't necessarily fair. So that's my only
why don't
concern.
we get rid of that sentence and we'll close it with something else.
Well, I'm not the only one here, just what other
No,
folks
you're,
think?
I mean, I wondered about that too, but like you put these things out there and then you hope people will give you honest feedback.
Here's what I'm going to do. My feedback, if this sentence were to be kept, and we don't have to do all this line by line, is say people versus putting occupations of transportation on folks. And I'll leave I'll put a delete mark, but it's still here, and I'll have a comment saying like, do we keep this for
I
now?
think if we do keep it, maybe changing must to will would help.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh God, what did I do?
I'd suggest setting a 1 or 2 day deadline and then getting it sent in, because if it's open-ended, the people have no deadline to submit comments, they won't,
Yeah, and I mean,
other
we
than
want to finish this up
obsessively
and get it
compulsive
off the
people
plate.
like me.
And I did mention that you guys are putting a letter together in response to those fatalities. I mentioned it to the Greenway Commission at our last meeting. So I'm not sure if I basically was like, if this seems like something you guys care about too, I'm sure you could do that as well. But, you know, obviously we can't ask for letters like this, so we appreciate you guys doing that. But, yeah.
Or maybe the way to close it is we hope that mayor and commission will act to put a Vision Zero program in place before anyone else dies or something like that.
Yeah, the sad thing is more people will die because it's not like we say a Vision Zero plan has been implemented.
Right,
No one
right.
should die.
Um,
So that's kind of a real
I mean,
plan.
yeah, I mean, this particular
soon.
location
That
is a
maybe
great example of
soon.
that.
We hope you will implement it soon or enact it soon, whatever. Expedite it or prioritize it, whatever the
A Vision Zero plan to stave off more
there you go.
casualties. I don't know.
Well, and also it's to respond to the casualties, right? It's to, like, we don't have the capacity right now to fully respond to what's happening and even be reactive. So, you know, the fact is that, you know, on Tallahassee Road where the cyclist was killed, construction starts in less than a month on a future multi-use path that goes in there and connects across the bridge. Like, he was at that location where that multi-use path would have been. And so that makes it even, you know, harder in a lot of cases where it's like, we identified it, we got funding, we're doing the stuff. But
there's a lot of accumulated knowledge and best practices that could really reduce the hazards. It's not like we have to reinvent anything. It's like we just have to get someone who can take charge of it and then together.
yeah, I mean, we did one road safety audit this past year, and ideally with a Vision Zero specialist, they would be doing them monthly. Not as big as Tallahassee, but at least at the intersection level.
Is there some phrase here we can include at the end that's part of the Vision Zero ethos that's like we all deserve to arrive alive or to get to where we're going, to not die on the way? Because that's the whole point of Vision Zero, right? Is casualties can be avoided. There are no accidents. So maybe that's one way to conclude.
Let's see.
All right. So 24 hours to review and leave comments. Should we actually, since this will be a communication, I think we need to go ahead and take a vote on it unless we want to have a special called meeting or push this off until our next meeting. Would that help, Teresa? Is that what you would like? A vote?
Yeah, I think
Totally.
that, you know, we should as long as everybody feels like the letter is pretty good with a little bit of tweaking to clean it up and get it just right, you know, then go ahead and send it out. You know, because I don't want to have another special call meeting for this. I don't think we need that. I mean, if there was a lot of discussion here, then yeah, we would have one. But I think everyone's pretty much in agreement that we should send this letter or one like it.
Yeah, I would agree. You don't want to push it off too much longer.
So with that, I will make a motion that we accept this letter with a few tweaks and that we will send it off to the mayor and commission as an official communication from the Athens in Motion Commission. So can I get a second?
I'll second that,
So
Darren.
second from Aaron. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Great. Well, Teresa, I appreciate you doing something productive with this letter. I definitely felt really sad when I heard about this death and some of the other ones. And I think I just vented to Daniel about it. This is way more effective. So I seriously though, I appreciate you, Teresa. Thank you. And again, thank you for the first reviewer on this. This is how
You know,
make a
whenever
difference.
something makes me upset, I feel like it's better to try to find a positive way to address it rather than getting angry and something else. Maybe not so
Agreed.
helpful.
Agreed.
And just I'll keep a monitor on this, and then I'll just clean it up, and then just let you know when I think it's ready to go. And then, do you want me to go ahead and put it on like our Athens in Motion letterhead and all that, and just put it in a format for you, or how would you like to proceed with that?
Handle the formatting features on there. Do you want me to use any of our new fonts or colors? Do you want me to? I can use them, but avoid the purple for now.
I don't care.
You don't like
I'm not saying that I'm sick about the purple. I'm just, if you want to use the new colors or experiment with them, you go girl.
All right. Anyone
Maybe
else
for
from
the letterhead, we stick with the original one. That way it goes from one to the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
I'll do that,
Lauren,
and maybe I'll use the
are you gonna put that together, or you want me to do it for you?
I will do that because I'll just plug it in and update the fonts. So
Okay.
if you
Right, so
just
I'll get this text cleaned up. Hopefully people will, leave a comment, saying it's okay with them, or suggest different things. Just be nice to get a few more people to have their, their input on that.
thank you. And yeah, commissioners, we have I said 24 hours. So leave comments ASAP. All right, so moving on to the updates. Before we do this, we have gone way over time. So I want to check in real quick with committees. Is there any of the committees or other commissions that have a substantial update that we should leave time for? We can still do quick updates. I just want to be able to give Daniel as much time as possible, Todd beforehand. Okay, so no big updates. So you'll be able to give us a quick run through in a minute or so, or less. All right, so we'll start off. Is Todd still with us? Todd, are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm listening, working.
Okay, yeah, I know. I know it gets kind of late. I try and front load you sometimes, but thanks for hanging around. So yeah, we'll start with Todd, and then Daniel, you can probably go all the way to 5:55.
Okay.
So.
All right. Just a quick update on construction stuff. The steel for the trestle should be going up any day now on the park side. And then in May, the poplar side over at the switchback ramp will start. And in July, the timber should start going up on the bridge, the trestle. The Oconee Street Bridge is set to go out to bid October 22nd. Derek met with GDOT. He kind of feels like this probably gonna get pushed into 2023, but right now they have it on the books as October of 2020 of this year to go to bid. Firefly 3, Derek's still working on easements with the goal of by the end of the year having all of his easements he needs. And then Firefly 2, Derek was putting together the agenda for item for we're going to have parking at streets and drainage nights and weekends on the Firefly Trail. And so that was an agenda item that they were bringing forward. The cemetery trail, the piece from the east campus towards the bridge is about 90% done. The piece coming from Easley Mill towards the bridge is about 65% done. And then they're doing the soldier piles and digging out the trail section under the bridge at the cemetery greenway section. And then in about a month, they'll take the deck off the brick, off the cemetery bridge to start doing their work. And then they'll have 12 weeks once they take the deck off to get all of it done and get it put back together per the contract with agreements with the cemetery board. And then Cars Creek Greenway, they are doing the environmental permits. They're doing geotech for the bridge foundations. And that's it. That's all the trail stuff.
Thanks, Todd. Again, exciting time to be in Athens-Clarke County and see all this stuff coming together.
Yep.
Awesome. Last section of the Firefly Trail, I know Derek is still trying to acquire the easements. Do you know if the design is finished for that section?
The design is getting close. Well, basically what he's doing is near the two of the home owners that had the most impact on their buildings and property. They're trying to get the design completed with all the drainage and all that figured out so that they can work out those agreements with those two individuals. So that's is where they're focusing at right now. So, but overall, the design, the conceptually is done. It's about 60 or 70% probably done, but they're doing really fine tune grading in that one area. So.
And my understanding was, if T-SPLOST 2023 doesn't pass, there's still some money for some kind of surface. It just wouldn't be concrete. Is that right?
Correct.
Right. Thank you, Todd.
Okay.
Daniel, finally, it's your turn.
All right. Looking at the agenda, I figured I'd talk about the things that are on there first. So raise grant, I did a fair amount of update last time. I think we've pared it down once more. We're not doing any planning grants since we're pretty positive that this is I'm fairly confident, not knock on wood, but that North Avenue will get funded this year. They said we were a highly recommended project. And it's really just a couple analyses. And after looking at, I watched a couple webinars and stuff, and that the RAISE committee put out for how to do a benefit cost analysis. So I have a better understanding of it, and we also have two, I'm going to call them experts. They've, with Banesh, I believe, or with Tool. I'm not sure which one they're with, but they've got a couple people working on specifically our BCA that are really well versed in it. So, and now that I have a better understanding of it, I'll be able to catch any details So we are focusing on the capital raise grant this year, and then it'll be going back to the drawing board, hopefully for next year's raise grant. I figure we just keep applying for these every year, and we'll see. And we might do 1 capital and 2 planning, or we could do 3 capital. But we felt like it's not very likely that they would pick the same community for a capital and a planning grant, and we definitely want to get North Avenue going. So, so that's where we're at on that. And I've sent out the request through the manager to Kelly Gertz to get some requests for updated letters of support. We had a pretty broad group of support letters. We're coming up on, I guess we're about 2 weeks out from when we're planning on submitting it. I think it's 3 weeks before it's due. But so we will probably be asking the commission for an updated support letter, but it will probably just be changing the date on it. There might be some, we're waiting to look and see what the scope changes with updated costs. Moving, we're keeping the bridge over the loop in the scope because that is a very important connection, but GDOT is replacing that bridge, so that changes things with how that connection can be done. Instead of building a like 3 or 4 span bridge over the exit ramps and a loop and tons of right of way, we could basically have those facilities on the road with a protected barrier, preferably.
Okay.
And yeah, so if that frees up some money, then those extra dollars could go towards increased construction costs in other areas, because we're already starting to get worried about being able to fully build out the plan with that we had built. The original plan was developed in 2018, 25 million. Then it seems crazy, but it's, it doesn't go as far every year that goes by. So once we get the updated costs back, then we'll figure out if there's some additional change of scope where we could potentially add in some better connections for some of the T-Splosh projects. Now, I would love to have those T-Splosh projects funded so that we could actually say, hey, these are projects that are being built. The one along the river, the Greenway connection along the river, it would be super great. And then the one at the cemetery, Gospel Pilgrim Cemetery, connection from Virginia Walker Park. So Trail Creek Trail would go up and connect across the railroad and basically plug in there. And that's just right next to North Avenue. So we could potentially, I'd like to see what the cost would be to plug a connection down to there, so we can go ahead and tie that multi-use path to the North Avenue one. And then I've been talking with sustainability and stormwater about some enhanced green infrastructure that could not only work to, slow down the conveyance of the stormwater down North Avenue there, but also increase water quality. So tree wells or bioswales, and things like that. So those are some of the ideas that we're working on, which is great. And we are going to have a follow-up meeting sometime soon. I got to get that on the schedule. So with the consultant. Did you guys have any questions about Raise?
That's great. I love your ideas. Maybe it's a good thing that it hasn't passed for the 3 years now that we see GDOT's going to redo that bridge and we can just hop on that project and have some facilities along there. So it would be wide enough. Is it going to be 2 separate bridges like it is now? Do we know yet?
Probably, but the thing that I forwarded something along to Stephen and it was like some new policy from GDOT. And I was forwarding it for another reason, but he actually read a part that I didn't. And I don't have the wording exact here, but he highlighted a section that said that is basically a statement that GDOT will include bike and pedestrian facilities on all bridge replacements. Now we're not sure if I guess you know, having it in a statement and seeing it on the ground are two different things. So depending on the context around that statement, we could potentially get that to leverage some more stuff with GDOT. But you know, I was mentioning on our site walk today, Teresa was there. You know, the bridge on Mitchell Bridge Road was built in '85, and I mean, you know, that's an old bridge, but like sidewalks were around longer than you know, the last 50 years. So it's
Yeah, is
really,
that
I always find it kind of mind blowing that the GDOT bridges over the loop don't include sidewalks. It's like sidewalks definitely existed going back before cars were there. I don't see why they always get cut out of projects from the past, but
you're saying that the bridge on Mitchell Bridge that's over the loop itself was built in 1985?
yeah, there was a stamp on there.
Okay. So that it sounds like that connection was broken by the loop and then restored in 1985, or there was another bridge there? Anyone know? Because that's an old road.
I think the loop, when was the, I don't know when the loop was specifically built, but it was a long process.
I think the North Loop was like started in the '60s. I imagine that was probably a replacement to whatever bridge was there. I would think. Anyway, the loops I thought there has been around for a while.
Interesting. I think I'm gonna have to pull up some Google Earth. I don't know if it goes back that far. Or no, I'll pull up. No, that's not gonna work. No, yes, we'll pull up the aerial shots.
Yeah, my guess would be maybe that was the first iteration of that bridge, and because that just seems like a real quick replacement if you know, if you built it in mid '60s and then replace it within 20 years, that's not a very good bridge. So it might be that they just returned access, kind of like what you were saying. Or, you know, in a lot of cases, there's the pavement on the ground, which is the loop itself, and then for usually decades afterwards, I mean, they're still doing, you know, projects. I guess those are replacement projects though, but it usually takes a while for those things to get completely restored. All that to say that, you know, the sidewalks are not a new thing. It's always funny to see bridges that don't have them, but I'm glad that we're starting to get to a point to where they acknowledge that sidewalk and bike connectivity are important. So moving on to Grid Smart, so Grid Smart is, if you've noticed, the little cameras. We have cameras at some of the intersections. There's different types of cameras for different types of technologies that we utilize, and also different agencies. So, you know, GDOT has cameras on the loop that look one way, and some intersections have multiple sets. But specifically, Grid Smart is like a fisheye lens. It has a 360-degree view, so it looks at the entire intersection, and you can identify cars and supposedly bikes, but you can draw in boxes, and as things come through them, you can get a count or a speed on the vehicles, and that gives us our traffic count data. And so we are looking at. I was basically I met up with him, and they have some really cool new technology. They just installed the newer version of the camera at the Baxter and Lumpkin intersection, and that can actually pick up pedestrian counts as well. Um, and it has some really cool technology where it gets, and this is my understanding of it, and it was kind of like from not knowing anything about GridSmart to this, and so I'm hoping I'm capturing it right. But um, basically, let's say there's a bike approaching the turn lane and the light turns yellow. Um, we know that that light is timed for a car to get through. It's going to take a little longer for the bike, but that signal can actually identify there's a bike there, and then it delays that transfer, so it keeps it yellow to keep that bike moving through, and it can do that for up to 30 seconds. And so it helps
So
get
cool.
the movement through, and then it can do the same for pedestrians. So if there's a pedestrian halfway through the crosswalk, then it can say, oh, you know what, I'm going to delay the light change a little bit so that that person can get the rest of the way across. Maybe someone who's elderly or mobility impaired, you know, is a little moving a little slower, helps keep people from getting trapped in the middle of the intersection, like we saw on Atlanta Highway that one time. So, but I'm really excited about that. So some ideas, you know, I'm gonna basically get some more information on that. I want to make sure that it's something that is like a substantial upgrade. And I discussed a few ideas with Steven, and we still need to like talk to the I guess it's not a contractor or consultant. I guess it's just GridSmart, the people, the company. um, so he's going to give me some more information. You know, in the Southeast, he said there wasn't a lot of people who use the bike counting features. There's you can get like bike volume and stuff like that. And we all know, you know, Southeast is not super well regarded for our bike infrastructure. But out west, there's a lot of work in that, and so he was going to get some info for me from out west on how we could better, even just with our existing um, setup with GridSmart, how can we optimize it to also be more effective for bicycles? Because I know one of the intersections where I was like, oh, let's go to this intersection because that will definitely have cyclists, and it said that there were 8 in a day, and I was like, I don't know if that's accurate. I feel like there's more there. So some of what we can do is we can try basically if we do some manual counts or potentially review the footage and then verify. I had a feeling that it might be looking at motorcycles and grouping those in with bicycles. And if the camera can't detect pedestrians, like the old cameras can't detect pedestrians, then I imagine a bicycle, the frame is so light visually that they might just look like a pedestrian. So um, all that to say that I'm going to explore that, but I think there are some opportunities for identifying high traffic locations, and we might not be able to use the 2018 funding because the wording is very specific in there, but upgrading some of these cameras to the bike and pedestrian, the more sensitive cameras that can detect pedestrian movement. I think I don't have an exact cost. I want to say the cameras are. I think he was saying they're about $8,000. Um, but you know, you could upgrade a lot of intersections, and basically we could have a much better picture of what our like what routes our cyclists are taking. In the same way we have with our vehicular volume and traffic, now we can actually have that data so that when a commissioner says, why should we build bike lanes here? I don't ever see cyclists out there. We can say, okay, well, here's the actual data of people riding without even having any infrastructure. And then potentially we could use other data from, because at that point we'll have these multi-use paths, and we'll say, here's the volume increase from building infrastructure in these locations. Here's what we can expect in terms of a ridership increase. So all that just to kind of get better data and use it in a more actionable way. So because if we upgrade the intersection locations, that if we have an older camera at like Lumpkin and West Broad, where we have bike lanes, we could potentially upgrade that camera and then just move the camera that's there to another location that we do need a grid smart camera at, but don't currently have. And so that's kind of where we're at there. I also met with a streetlight data representative. So streetlight is they do big data from different sources, but they basically aggregate the data from mostly cellular devices, and it's all scrubbed so that there's no personal identifying information. But I think we all know that our cell phones are little walking monitors. But there are some companies where they can package it in a way. So Streetlight specifically deals with mobility and like transit, traffic, those types of transportation movements. So they have a few different project types, and we've been talking with leisure services about kind of splitting the cost, and so we could do like one project for roadway and vehicles and then another project for bikes and pedestrians, and basically split the cost on those. And then that would give us basically 100 zones, which a line segment is considered a zone. So you could say, or with a park, you could say, okay, for Linden House Art Center, when a car enters this polygon, it counts it, or when not even when a car, but when a cellular device enters, it counts it as a person going there. And then they kind of look at the aggregate model and they put everything in an index. So you don't actually get numbers of people, but you can basically see statistically, here's like the volume of people on an index scale. And then you can normalize that data with actual counts. And so we could also do that on the Greenway with, we could split the Greenway into multiple sections, and we could actually see where the most popular sections are. And then we could compare that with our Greenway trail counter data. And Leisure Services is currently verifying their trail counter data with on the ground counts. And so from that would branch through all of our stuff. And so we could basically normalize the data. And with that, you could see over like the sections of the road that are considered zones, we could see where, like on Prince Avenue, we could divide that into a few segments, and we could get a really good picture of, bike and pedestrian use, not just from people who are using Strava to track your workout, but people who are actually, walking on the street. So we're working on that as a test pilot. We also met with Sam Harris over in GDOT. We had our bi-monthly meeting with him, and he has a lot of really great tools and data that we're able to start using. And they're really doing some really cool stuff. So I can go into more detail on that later. I don't want to dwell on it too long. And then we did have a site visit today. And so this is kind of a corridor update, but it's for both Atlanta and Lexington. So we did a site visit for Mitchell Bridge Road to walk, and we started at the bridge over the loop, and then we walked on the side of the road all the way down to basically Ben Burton Park and Westchester, kind of around there, to plan exactly what they're going to be doing in the plans, in terms of like how are we crossing the river, where are some obstacles like stormwater, those types of things. And then we did the same walk for Lexington on the south side, basically at the end of the GDOT project. We walked all the way out to Lowe's and just identified some little spots where we're gonna it's really it's good to have on the ground eyes. So we walked out there with Eric Hammerlin, with Banesh, and that was my day today, which is why I'm a little sunburned on my nose.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you look a little pink.
A little rosy. Yeah, besides that, just trying to get through emails and make sure we're keeping up with stuff. So, are there any questions about anything specific? Sweet.
I have questions.
Oh, go for it.
So the camera that is over the scramble at Baxter and Lumpkin, does that have like a purple, more violet light associated with it? Because that intersection is kind of purple. There's a light. And I was just wondering if that was related to that camera or if that's just a different bulb.
Huh. I don't think it's related to that camera. It could just be the bulb. You mean just coming out of the street light?
Yeah, there's like a really high light. And it's noticeably a different color. And I don't know
So
if it's just a bulb or if that was related
these,
to camera.
yeah, the cameras themselves, they look like little UFOs hanging on like a little hook.
Okay.
Um,
UFOs.
and I'm trying to get my computer to respond to me right now so I can drop in a street view. I guess street view is not going to have night view though. It would be really nice if they did.
Yeah, Google, what's up with that?
Come on.
Where's the night view?
How are we supposed to assess safety? Um, I'll try to drive through there some night, but you did mention Scramble, which reminded me. So it's a brand new software and like algorithm that is detecting the pedestrians in the crosswalk, and apparently they've only built it for crosswalks and not scrambles. So this was like a pilot site location, and then once it was installed, they're like, "Oh, that's a scramble." We actually don't know how to. So when I got there, they were troubleshooting how they could possibly, because it's like if you know the crosswalk, like here's the crosswalk location and it's a line, but it's when you have a scramble, you can't build every single path into it, and so it's interesting. It's they had
Interesting.
it's like, oh cool, we get to break your system and see how you fix it. um, Looking at that intersection location, it looks like I think we have a new one that's up higher. Yeah, it's kind of right over the Lumpkin sign. So when I show this to you guys are going to start noticing them everywhere. It actually looks like a bell, not a UFO. So those are our grid smarts.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've noticed those. And sometimes I shine my light at them in hope that they'll trigger something.
Nice. I don't know if shining a light at it will do anything or not. I'll check.
I just want to be seen. Yeah. Please change the light for me.
Hey, Lauren, that looks like a complete street to me. What do we think?
Wow. Yes. All modes accounted for.
Beautiful.
Very visibly too. And safe.
Yeah, this is near where I about got doored. So can't have too much infrastructure.
probably get another picture with other people in there. It looks pretty desolate there, but it might be just hit or miss. Sometimes I mean, you've seen it's completely overrun over there during class change.
I tried to
Yeah.
count one time, and it was hundreds of people crossing at one time in one change.
Mhm.
This is at the busiest intersection in Athens, right? In terms
For
of
pedestrians, I
pedestrians.
would assume. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as just a on that note, so our old Grid Smart basically would say, yes, pedestrians are crossing. Like it can detect to that level of like there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk. But the new one, if we can figure out the scramble thing, can actually count each individual one. And because the whole point of Grid Smart is to get an accurate count of the number of vehicles moving through a location. And I also will just point out that this isn't being recorded anywhere. It's like a live camera that runs through the algorithm. But for study purposes, we can plug in like a USB device, like an external hard drive or something, to record, but it's not actively recording. We don't have any. So that was one thing. We can't like historically go back to see what those 8 cars or 8 things were that were considered bicycles. So I mentioned, doing some recording, and then we'll look and see what it detected as bikes. But we'll have to do that specifically one day.
Dana, did you say this is the only location with one of the new cameras?
Yes. And I'm working on getting access, and could show you guys. I'll check and make sure I can, but yeah, I would say it'd be great to have the more people, and also I think this is partially when the striping wasn't quite finished, so you can see it might just be helpful to show like the final striping as well.
Yeah.
Plus, there's flowers on the trees now, so. Oh, and this is one of the things. This is the numeric sliding window analysis, and we can basically just let me try Xing that out. Okay. This is looking at every intersection in Athens-Clarke County and the number of crashes, and it ranks them by crash rate. So it's looking at volume, I think. But our number 1 location is where the roundabout's going in, the West Broad roundabout. And if you actually look at the entire state, this is ranked number 12 in the entire state.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then the number 2 intersection is our favorite little clover leaf over here. So
Yes.
from there, we have several downtown actually that, Pulaski and Clayton. Like, and I will say that this might just be reading like the line in a certain way, but I'm still kind of playing with it. But there's several locations through here that it's a really cool tool. I haven't really gotten to play with it yet, but
Okay, so I do want to maybe do quick updates. Daniel, do you have anything else? Because we're
no,
about 2
that's
minutes away. Okay. Oh man, this is so great. We have such great technology at our fingertips. Thanks for keeping us posted. And yeah, I love those cameras. I want to install them everywhere. Okay, so real quick, committees, you've pretty much heard what policy and projects is up to that Complete Streets presentation. And then we did finish reviewing the bike lanes ordinances, the list that Cole Scott had come up with. And Daniel is actively working to get an ordinance for blocking bike lanes. That's the latest from policy and projects. Grants and data, you had a grant submitted to AARP, right?
Yeah, AARP Community Challenge Grant, and it was for $20,000. We had about 3,000 in matching effort from the county for in terms of installation. It'll hopefully buy 9 benches and install them at various places on the Firefly and on the Greenway, mostly where there are already outlooks or overlooks and or places of historic significance like East League Mill. That's it.
Great. Thank
Thanks
you.
for Daniel's help with that.
Thanks for
He's suspended
doing
of it.
95% of the work. That was it was really great. I'm
All right,
excited about it.
anything else from education and communications besides our communications plan? I know Teresa had to dip out.
I don't think so. Oh, we signed up for a booth.
Yes, that's right. The Green Life.
Yeah. So we're going to be tabling at the Green Life Expo. I'm assuming that Teresa will probably want to put a call out to you guys to see if anyone can help table. And what, do you know when that is? Double check.
Friday. Yeah, it's
The
usually-
22nd is a Friday.
Time of April, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, April 22nd, Friday.
Okay.
Setup starting at 2 p.m. And this is at the Green Life Hoppy Hour, so it's at Terrapin. Goes from 4 to 6. Yeah.
Great. Y'all put that on your calendars.
ORGC, but I can pop over and maybe table both tables. I don't know.
And I can help.
As for the, I think I covered the corridor committee updates. I did want to say thanks to Teresa for being there for the Atlanta Highway one. She's brave. She was like on the edge of the road with her vest, and I was like, Teresa, please don't get hit. We need you. Like,
Oh, gosh.
she was like, I'm wearing my reflective vest. They see me. I'm gonna. So, yeah, it was a good site visit.
Okay. Anything else from the other corridor committees? Prince Avenue has been meeting? No? Okay. All right. I don't have any. Go ahead.
A quick item on Lexington.
Yeah.
There was an update regarding from Derek that they're doing the aerial survey and line and field work, so that's moving along. But I thought what was interesting is there's that development going in off of at 2400 Lexington Road, and the developers are looking at putting there's a 10-foot easement, but they're looking to put in a 5-foot wide sidewalk. And there was a good discussion at the meeting regarding the county doesn't really have a good, like maybe a guideline to hand to developers to say, here's what we're really looking for you to do. So the user group is going to try and develop something for the Lexington corridor because there's a lot of activity going on there and looking like a lot of development happening, whether it's commercial or residential. And I was thinking that it would have been great if the county had something in place, especially like Athena, where they're going full guns with clearing out all the forest land along that road and putting in. We have the movie studio and some other businesses. It would have been great to have a requirement for them to put in some pedestrian or bike facilities while they're doing the work already.
Yeah,
So
don't we still have a policy where you have to put in a sidewalk? It's
Yeah.
just, they kind of just do the bare minimum with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Be
It
great.
might be, it would be a good policy, initiative would be that if it's along a planned, corridor or planned,
Mm-hmm.
part of the network plan, that maybe they be required to do more than just a sidewalk. the plan is long-term to build a multi-use path somewhere.
Yeah, a lot easier to do it when they're tearing everything up.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot the update on that as well. So we had a meeting with planning, and we are going to. I'm pretty sure my understanding is we're going to use Lexington as kind of start, like a case study pilot almost, for saying there is a future multi-use path here. Any development, you have to expand to a 10-foot wide, or provide. Ultimately, we need to provide those like details. So,
Okay.
and then I have some ideas for how that could be spread beyond that into buffered bike lanes and ultimately a full right-of-way master plan, which is another thing that we're working on, and we can talk about that at some other point.
Yeah. While we're so busy, I'm sorry that we're over time. If anyone else needs to go while we wrap up, I will totally understand, and I'm sorry about that. Any updates from Greenway beyond what Todd shared with us regarding projects? Okay.
really, I don't-
Anything from, oh, sorry, Carly, go ahead.
Sorry. No, that's okay. Just a couple of community events, which I'm thinking you guys will probably be at anyway also. This weekend though, for a Firefly update, is the Ticket to Ride event. I'm sure some of you will be out there riding, but ORGC will have a tent too, so come say hey. You ride.
Thank you, Carly, because that was actually one of my items. I've posted in chat, the Firefly Inc. is looking for volunteers for Ticket to Ride. So if you weren't sure about riding, or if you want to do just a leg of it, one thing I did a couple years ago is I rode out and I had volunteered and then I rode back. I haven't done the whole thing yet. But so that is an option. Again, the Firefly Trail helps build our bike highway. Well, really our highway for any mode of transportation that isn't in a car. Very useful, especially because it goes out to rural areas, which don't have a lot of facilities. So thank you, Carly, for mentioning that. Blaine, UGA? I saw that the whole street deck has 0 spots in it today. And I'm like, I'm glad that's not my deck. I'm glad my deck is a bike rack.
Yeah, it's very busy in that area. So we've got some things in the works actually to try to minimize that a little bit. But no, I don't have anything else. I do have one thing I want to maybe share next month if I can get some photos. Is we did a project up on Field Street behind the stadium on the south side of the stadium where we fixed what I think is fixed the road. So maybe I can touch on it next month with some photos you can show you. But we basically had people walking a little bit, then crossing the road, then walking down, then crossing back over. We had parking in the middle, and we just kind of flipped everything and made parking on one side and pedestrian access on the other. But we also had opportunity to fix some of the cracks in the sidewalks and things like that and infrastructure while it was happening. So that's something I can touch on a little bit more next month.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about that. That was part of my route for a while, Field Street, when I worked in biosciences. Okay.
I did get reminded. Northeast Georgia Regional Commission is. I don't remember what reminded me, but it doesn't matter. They're working on their SEDS plan update. Oh, it was the Firefly Trail, which looks at. I can't remember what SEDS stand for, but CEDS. It's think community development for the Northeast Georgia regional area. So keep an eye. I'll let you know of what comes up there. But I think interconnectivity between cities is one thing that I think came up several times. So whether it's transit interconnectivity or trail access between counties. So
Thank you, Daniel. Anything else? All right, yeah, well, I'm sorry that we went over time. We were just a busy commission. We have a lot to talk about. you know, and if you're concerned about that, and you want to talk about like having additional meetings, or you want me to reel it in a bit more, I will certainly work on that. But yeah, doing the good work takes time. So as far as T-SPLOS goes, T-SPLOS 2023, been a little bit slow to launch our promotional campaign, because at this point, T-SPLOS 2023, the committee is grassroots, and so they're kind of on their own to figure it out. So it's all who's left standing after going through 87 presentations in the fall, and that's just how it is. So hopefully I'll give you more of an update the next time we talk. But that's all I've got. So everyone have a great night. I hope you get out and enjoy this weather a bit. And I hope this is real spring and not just number 8 false spring. So have a good night.
Good night.
Lauren.